Yo, what's good? What's good, everybody? This is Coffee and Sports in the Morning. Welcome back to a Monday morning. This is your host, Coach Dante, in the building. On the side of me to my right, I got the man, the myth that came up with the new show yesterday. Proved me wrong. It was a hell of a show, man. How you doing, Chris? How you doing this morning, Chris?
Morning, gentlemen. I'm here with the 2 stars of that show yesterday. Let me tell you, gentlemen, job well done.
Yes, you are. You already know, man. See my partner in crime, man. Won a championship. But the best thing about it, we both made it down. We both made it down. Yeah. Anytime I gotta get a chance to take a shot at somebody, I would. And Jordan talked noise yesterday. And at least if you're gonna do that, make it to the next round. If you're gonna do it. But the man that won, that got me, they got me. Defending champion, my guy Mo. How you doing this morning, man?
I'm doing great, Coach. You know what? The morning show repped. We rep strong.
Yeah, there we go. And we got the man that the LSU Tigers, man, the man that produced those championships, ladies, women's championship, baseball. The man, Alex Bretman. I got the third baseman that already won a World Series. LSU produced championships, man. My man JG, how you doing this morning?
Morning, fellas. Good morning. How you guys doing?
I'm doing great, man. Anytime y'all got a chance to take that shot, man, y'all better go ahead and use that as an advantage, man. Anytime y'all got a chance to take that shot, y'all got to do it. You got to do it. So we got some early topics this morning, man. So let's go ahead and get into the nitty gritty. Let's not waste no time because this is a topic that's been going viral, man. Jonathan Taylor. Discuss Jonathan Taylor and Jim Irsay's comments. Jonathan Taylor demanded a trade, asked for a trade. Jim Irsay said no. The team has now got him on the PUP list for personal workout reasons, man. Your initial reaction to it, Chris?
I have never seen a fire start so quickly and engulf an organization so fast. I mean, this all started a week ago, half a week ago, when Irsay came out and made his comments about the running back situation, which, by the way, he wasn't wrong. I kind of agreed with him. You know, he didn't say anything that was out of pocket. Should he be the one saying it? No. Should you be saying it when your franchise running back is about to become a free agent next season? Probably not. We knew it was going to rub Taylor the wrong way. So that leads to apparently this closed door meeting between Taylor and the owner and the heads of the organization, which he comes out from unhappy. No surprise. Did we think that Jason Taylor sitting down with Jim Irsay was going to magically change Jim Irsay? No. So what comes out of that? He demands a trade. Again, no real surprise there. I was a little taken aback by Irsay being so adamant that he wasn't going to trade Taylor. But again, he's the man in that organization. So he's not going to have a player show him up. So I guess that's on trend for him. What took me by surprise, though, was then you had this report comes out that Taylor hurt himself doing a personal workout, and now he might go on the PUP list because of that. And there's going to be some ramifications because he was working out on his own outside the facility. And then Taylor comes out and is like, I'm fine. I didn't hurt myself. I don't know what they're talking about. I never had a back injury. It's literally imploded. It's been a week, guys. It's been a week. And this is all imploding around this Irsay-Taylor situation. It's not going to get better. We are not even in the preseason yet. And things are kind of burning in Indianapolis because of this. I think it's a lot of posturing. I think it's a lot of Irsay is upset with Taylor. I think it's a lot of Irsay just wanting to assert his authority and make sure that his players know he's the guy in Indy and what he says goes. I'm not going to pay if I don't want to pay you. I'm not going to trade you if I don't want to trade you. And I think Irsay's trying, and terrible, by the way, absolute terrible job of him to get in front of this and kind of control the narrative. Because if that's what his attempt here was with the whole PUP list conversation and trying to strong arm JT into something, it's not going well. As you can imagine, Irsay in public opinion has never really gone his way. And we're just seeing kind of a little snippet of that in a week of a dumpster fire in Indianapolis.
All right, Jonathan.
Well, much like I talked about with you guys over the last couple of weeks, we talked about the Saquon Barkley. We talked about Josh Jacobs, how the owners are more, they're just more open at speaking about this. Heck, we had Jerry Jones, he was asked about paying Zach Martin, and, Dak Prescott is making, push saying, hey, we need to pay him and everything like that. And Jerry Jones goes, well, hey, I can't pay him because my quarterback's making a lot of money right now. The brazenness of these owners now are more public, because they know they have power. Again, I'm pro player when it comes to CBA talks and everything. And this is where you see where everything has just been shifted completely to ownership. Jim Irsay, again, he didn't say anything wrong. Did he say anything? He didn't say anything. He didn't speak right. He didn't speak right. But again, he didn't say anything wrong in his essence of his comments saying, hey, if I die and Taylor gets kicked out of the league moves on. Well, that's true. That's very true. But how do you value now? How do you value that guy in the league, though, on your team, and what he's supposed to mean to you? That's the part that everybody is up in arms about. He goes, this is a guy who's right now is your offense. He is, Saquon Barkley is the same way with New York. He is the offense of the Giants. Jonathan Taylor right now with a rookie quarterback who you went from, old veteran. You have a rookie quarterback now who's going to struggle beginning, and you have this running back who's going to be the guy for you, and this is how you talk about him? This is the brazenness of the ownership where, again, they're going to speak publicly because they have no fear now. They have control with the CBA that has been agreed upon in 2020. They have absolute control. And more, I think now we're going to start seeing this situation, as we talk about Barkley's situation. Barkley folded. I think that's what he folded by agreeing to the 1-year deal with the incentives that had. This is now going to probably be the straw that broke the camel's back, and how they are handling Jonathan Taylor, and that running backs should form their own little group at the moment and say, hey, what do we have to do something. I don't care what the consequences are at this point. If you want change, and this is the moment you need to say we have to change, because they don't give a crap about us. We have to change something. It means we have to sacrifice something. This should be the moment. If it's not, they need to shut up and just keep doing what they're supposed to be doing, because it's going to continue to get worse and worse for these running backs unless they do something about it.
Mo?
I understand why Jonathan Taylor feels the way he feels, but you're employed by one of the worst owners in football. He was honest in his statements, but he didn't need to say it. Like, it was like I said before, it was just kicking a man when they're down, or kicking men when they're down. There's nothing Jonathan Taylor could do other than refuse to play. And it seems like Jim Irsay is ready to meet him there. He's going to put him on the pup list. He's going to meet him there. What he's saying is, even if you don't play, you belong to me. You work for me, or you don't work for me, but you'll still be part of this organization. They don't have the power to really do anything. I really think that Nick Chubb was spot on. They don't have the power to do anything. You cannot play, but I don't know that doesn't hurt you more than it hurts the team. It really does. If your position is already devalued and you don't play, the next man up won't be Nick Chubb. He's not going to rush for 1,500 yards. But what if he rushes for 900 yards or 1,000 yards, and Deshaun Watson has a big season and they go on to win 10-plus games minus Nick Chubb? That won't make Nick Chubb's case. So I really think the running backs are just in a bad position. And to make a stand, I understand the consent and the feeling about it, the consensus on it. I don't know that not playing is the right stand. All I can say is get with your union reps, get with your PA, have a conversation to see if there's some way they can do something for you. But right now, they're stuck in a hard place. There's nothing they can do. So Irsay saying what he said, like Chris said, he wasn't wrong. He's just a wrong messenger. He didn't need to say it, but he was spot on. And Jonathan Taylor being upset, I understand it, but he has zero leverage or zero power. This is just the wrong time to try to make that stand.
Well, if they put him on the PUP list or the NFI list, and there is no injury, now the union is they're going to rally around that because they're finding ways not to pay him in the process of him not being hurt. Now, get through training camp again. We've heard players. Ryan Clark has come out and said, "Hey, get through training camp, do what you're supposed to be doing. Once the season starts, practice, do everything, and go. Oh, hey, my hamstring is tight. I can't play in the game." That point, you're still going to get paid in that aspect of. But right now, if they put you on the PUP, if they put you on the NFI, you can't get paid. So that's why if they do that, and we'll find out here probably the next day or two, that's what the Colts end up doing. Now you have an issue and the union is going to step in. But again, I've said this with you guys before. How much confidence is there in Damari Smith and the union representatives? I wouldn't have a single lick of confidence because they're the ones who agreed to the CBA and allowed the power to shift. Which, John, I said this. I talked to a few people over the weekend about Jonathan Taylor. I think he got drafted in 2020. The new CBA was agreed upon before the draft in 2020. So he's living in a world that he was not part of in the negotiations, or not part of the union that was going through the negotiations. He's living through mess ups because of what Damari Smith and the union did prior to him being drafted to the Colts. And that's what I can completely understand on his point, that he's frustrated about this whole situation with the running back class being devalued, and at the same time playing for an owner who is absolutely, excuse my language on you here, but is a complete jackass.
To be fair, though, there's nothing in their CBA, their new contract, that says we only play running backs this much money. There's nothing like that in it. No. There's nothing that would have stopped the Giants from paying Saquon Barkley $35 million instead of Danny Dimes. It's just where they value running backs right now, but it's not actually written in stone. Running backs only make this much. It's kind of an unwritten rule because nobody wants to get burned because they think most backs peak around 27, 28 years old. And they don't want to run the risk of paying a running back $17, $18 million. And next thing you know, he's more of a 3-yard and cloud of dust guy. The league is full of those. I just don't think, the idea to say, well, I'm healthy, but then I pull my hamstring and I'm not gonna play or whatever like that, or anything like that. That I don't think that helps. I don't think that's going to help the situation at all. And at the end of the day, they're going to still get paid what they're currently getting paid. It's not like they're going to get a raise for not playing. So I don't think it benefits them to be disingenuous, because that'll look bad on them. If your fan base thinks you're 100% healthy and everybody knows it, but you're just holding out because you're not happy about your contract, that's not going to be a good look for the player.
And Mo, I agree with you, but Irsay, being the dirtbag that he is, has elevated this, right? So you know he was sitting around with his brain trust. How do I get back at him? And someone in the room was like, well, if he is on the PUP list, technically, and he was like, there it is. There it is. We're going to put him on the PUP list because I am not going to be shown up by one of my players. And like Jonathan said, if this goes through, if they actually do something like this in an effort to get back at him, to retaliate against him, to flex their muscles, to just not pay him, now we're talking a whole different issue. Because with the Saquon Barkley thing, they just didn't want to pay him what he wanted. That happens in the NFL all the time. A player thinks they're here, the team thinks they're there. Usually they meet in the middle. Sometimes they don't. And Mo, to your point, businesses don't pay people equally. Now, you can argue that if you're looking at a school, for example, teachers do a whole lot more work than superintendents do. And superintendents make a whole lot more money. And I would argue that teachers are much more valuable to the functioning of a school than a superintendent.
No question.
But the superintendent is the quarterback. They make the 6 figures. They are the face. When things go wrong, no one's calling the English teacher to be like, hey, what happened with that? They're calling attendant. It's just the way it works. The NFL isn't much different, right? The quarterback, shoulders, all of that. And here's the thing. The position gets you the pay. So whether you're a bottom quarterback or a top quarterback, you're in that quarterback money. Right. And the quarterback money is always going to be higher than the running back money. So the top running back isn't going to come necessarily close to the bottom quarterback because they're in different pay grades. And that's just the way it is. That's the way the business works right now. But circling back to Irsay, if, like Jonathan said, if he chooses to be that guy, and I think he's going to try to be that guy, it is going to open a can of worms. But again, what is the Players Association going to do about it? What's the union going to do? They've shown in the past that they don't like to tick off the owners. They've shown in the past that they'll kind of give the players a little bit, but really it looks like they're doing more for the other side than they're doing for their side. Right. So I don't know where it goes. Should they put them on the PUP list? I know it's going to be a huge issue, but what does a huge issue look like?
And that was my point. I agree with you, Mo, that there is no writing in the CBA that says the running backs have to get paid X when they want to be paid Y. My point about the CBA is it has, much like was just said, it has shifted power to the owners to say and do whatever they want and be able to value anybody they want to value in the aspect of, and there's no consequence to it. Again, Jim Irsay making his comments, there is no consequences to his comments. There's going to be something with Jonathan Taylor and everything, but there's no consequence and no fear. Jerry Jones makes a comment about Zach Martin saying, well, it's Dak Prescott's fault I can't pay Zach Martin. Well, you can't say that, but these owners they know the CBA is so much in their favor and their power that they can say and do as they want. And they're going to tell the players, I don't care that you're mad at me. That's the truth. And you can throw a little tantrum if you want, but you're still going to come back and play, and you're still going to have your money that you're making, and that's all it is going to be.
And Saquon proved that. Saquon was going to be the guy. He was going to be the guy to go out on the ledge, to fight for the running backs, and whatever happened with him was going to set the bar for what's to come. And at the end, he was like, I want to play, and I don't think this is going to fix itself, and I don't really want to sit out a year, and I know what's going to happen if I do sit out a year. And he folded.
Gotcha. Good conversation. Right there. Love that energy. Ready to start the morning. So next topic. We got baseball trades. We had some trades, and the Rangers made a couple of trades. They got 2 starting pitchers, Montgomery and Max Scherzer. The Cubs are not selling. The Dodgers want Justin Verlander. The Marlins want Gleyber Torres, and also the Los Angeles Angels. They ended up getting Randall Grichuk and C.J. Cron. C.J. Cron was a former Angel. And the Rangers, get some starting pitching. Nathan Eovaldi is out for them. He has been out. The Rangers are struggling as of right now. They got swept by the San Diego Padres. Pretty bad. I wouldn't go as far as say a bad team, but a team that's underachieved throughout the whole entire season. So, Chris, give me your initial thoughts on the trade deadline. Angels, the Mets are just blowing everything up, blowing everything up right now. So go ahead, give me your initial reactions and thoughts on these trades.
I'm slightly impressed by the Angels, right? Like they made a pitching slightly. They made the pitching move. They brought in a pitcher, right? I mean, let's be honest. They really don't have any pitching. They really don't have any hitting. So anything they bring in is basically an upgrade over what they have. Now, and as a Yankee fan, I see this crap all the time. So like it came out this weekend, the Yankees are eyeing like Carlson from the Cardinals or something along those lines. And Yankee Nation is like, that's not going to move the needle. When you're a 5th place team that's hitting like 220 what's going to move the needle? Like what? Like, and if you look across the Major League Baseball landscape, there's very few moves that I think move the needle. At this point, you're kind of Ohtani obviously would have moved the needle if they moved him, but you're shoring up kind of what you have. You're filling holes. If you have 2 subpar pitchers, you're trading for a above par, right? That's kind of what you're doing. So I like that the Angels are continuing to make moves. Again, I don't think they're a World Series championship caliber team. I really like what Texas is doing. I like that Texas is dominating their division, but they're not resting on that, right? They're going out there and they're still trying to make moves. Again, does Scherzer move the needle per se? No. Does Monty move the needle? I wouldn't say that, but they're good pieces to an already good team, right? And that's what good teams do. They look at themselves and say, hey, let's add some pitching depth because you can never have too much pitching. Let's do a couple of things so we have some insurance plans if needed. Yes, we're in first place. Yes, we're the cream of this division, but that's what I like to see. As far as the Marlins go, I don't personally understand their love for Gleyber Torres. If they like guys who like to not run down, the first base line and look a little lazy in the outfield at times, but as much as I don't understand their love for Gleyber, I don't understand the Yankees' unwillingness to move him because apparently they're asking for the world, and I don't know if Mr. Torres is worth the world. So that one's a little perplexing to me. The Cubs, I get it. They won, 8, 9 in a row? So that they're feeling kind of good about themselves, so I can understand them not selling. Jonathan, what do you think? I see you made a face when I was trying to compliment the Angels.
Well, remind me again, what place were the Yankees in right now? What place were they?
Last, I'm pretty sure.
Love hearing that. I'm sorry. But
there you go. Take a shot at them.
Love it.
Love it.
I'll say the Angels, I like the Grichuk trade. I like getting Randall Grichuk more than I like CJ Cron. Cron is a former Angel, Cron is and I'll say this in my aspect of my evaluation of Cron. He's a product of where he's been playing in. He's been playing in Colorado. I think that's more of what he had, why he's had such a pretty good year. And we've seen samples of what he has been outside, and he's kind of what they have already. So the CJ Cron help your offense is what you need. You need more offensive. Grichuk does. That's why I said I like. Maybe if they probably said we want Grichuk. Throw in Cron as a sweetener. We'll throw you some extra prospects. If that's the case, okay, then I can get it. I'm not excited about CJ Cron, but Grichuk will get on base. He hits really well. Again, is he a product of Colorado this season? We'll find out. But it's almost like a move that they have made in past years. So bringing in guys who have a really good season or doing really well at the time, and then kind of come back down to earth. That's what it kind of feels like to me a little bit. So I'm holding out my trade score for the Angels until I see what they do in August here. After August and by September 1st, if they're still doing what they're doing like they did in the first half, okay, great job. You finally made a move that was actually pretty smart. Lucas Giolito, I liked it. Then we saw he pitches 5 1/3, almost 6 innings. And they lose that ball game because the only run they got was Shohei Ohtani hitting a home run. So it was a typical, even with the pitching of Lucas Giolito, they still couldn't score. So that's why I think they kind of went and got Grichuk and Cron. But I'm not excited about CJ Cron. I'm pretty excited for Grichuk to get there. I want to see what the evaluation looks like in time in August before I make a judgment on just how well that trade was. Rangers are doing really well. They made the right moves. Again, Scherzer, I was shocked, actually, the Mets weren't wanting to part with him, and they were able to find a way to get rid of him in the aspect of. But the Rangers took a chance and say, hey, he's a postseason pitcher. He's done really well in his career in the postseason up until the last couple of years where the health kind of winds down a little bit. But it's a risk. And that's what they've done. They risked on getting Jacob deGrom. Well, that didn't work out this season. But so adding Scherzer to a pitching staff, to a starting pitching staff that has struggled at times outside of Nathan Eovaldi. Eovaldi's going to be on an IL short stint, nothing serious. So that's a good thing for the Rangers. But you get somebody who can come in and be a number one for you because Eovaldi has pitched above his career. So he can go back and be a number 2 guy for you. And then you bring in Jordan Montgomery, who I've been expecting to be a Ranger for at least a month and a half. And they finally were able to make a move to get him on board as well. But the best part about the Scherzer trade is it didn't cost you really a lot. You traded Luis Angel Acuna number 3 prospect in their farm, but that was it. And you got money coming in to help cover some of the majority of the contract of Scherzer. So bravo, Rangers, on that one. Bravo. I'm with you though, Chris. I don't understand the Gleyber Torres enamor, because they already have a logjam as it is. Like, they're not great at middle infield, but they already have 4 middle infielders, and they're trying to play them out of position in Miami right now. So what are you going to do with Torres then? Is he going to play third base, or are you going to find a spot to put him in middle infield? Because you already have guys that are doing that right now. So it doesn't make a lot of sense that what you're going to do. Are you going to put him in the outfield? There's no idea in Miami of what they're doing in the enamorness of Gleyber Torres. I'd go find pitching if you're Miami, because that's what you need to get in the wild card, is another pitcher to help out with Alcantara. You can get a little bit more in that rotation, but Gleyber Torres doesn't do anything for you. So I don't understand exactly what they're thinking, because they already have 4 or 5 middle infielders, and 3 of them are playing out of position right now. So we'll find out about that one. But the Texas Rangers right now are winning the trade deadline based off of getting Scherzer and Montgomery with not costing you a lot in your farm at the moment.
And I don't want Gleyber Torres throwing across the diamond.
Yeah.
Do not make him throw from short or third. So if that's what they're thinking, I don't know why.
That's probably, they have to. They don't have a third baseman. They really don't have a third baseman. So again, like, you're going to have to put him somewhere if you make that trade. I think they're going to put him at third base.
Yep. Yes, indeed. So, Mo, you give me your status, and my man Desto said, he said our Astros basically, but it's any specific team after Mo goes. Chris, I'm gonna start with you. After Mo goes, where should Justin Verlander end up, and where do you think he may end up at? Because he's on the block too, so you got to assume Scherzer is gone. You got to assume he's going to be maybe gone by the trade deadline as well. But go ahead, Mo. Give me your initial thoughts.
So when I listen to Chris and especially JG, I listen to JG and it's like listening to a baseball mad scientist, because he can break down the breakdowns. So I feel like I'm always learning something, especially being more of a casual baseball fan. I feel like I'm talking to like somebody who's like on genius level, right? JG really breaks it down.
I appreciate that.
No, it's real. It's real. But for me, I'm looking at the Mets and I'm like, oh, so now Mr. Cohen is like, let's think about the future. And I thought, okay, he's making moves, he's getting prospects. So moving Scherzer, moving Robertson, I get it. Finally, he's starting thinking about the future. There's always buyers and there's always sellers. I'm impressed with the Rangers because they're already one of the best. And all they did was add depth to one of the best teams in baseball right now. So I think that's smart. You can never have too many good players. You can never have enough pitching. I don't know what Scherzer has left, but I think he can help them, and I think they think he can help them. So I like that move. With the Angels, I find it really interesting because all of a sudden, what they hadn't been doing, they're putting all these pieces around Ohtani, making a push, added pitching. They just added 2 bats. And I'm like, it's interesting and it's exciting, but what I want to see is how it plays out, because if they don't go into a deep playoff run, if they don't get into the playoffs, what will all that have been for? That the real soap opera doesn't really play out till the end of the season, because they're doing all these things, and I'm starting to lean towards what Chris said in the earlier show. Maybe they know something. Maybe they had a conversation, and Ohtani wants to stay where he's at. Maybe they know that, and that's why they feel secure in making the moves that they're making.
You almost feel like the Angels are that high school student that had like all semester to do the assignment, and then it's due in a week, and they're like, oh my God, I have to get it done now. Because they've had years to put talent around Ohtani and Trout and kind of build this and figure it out and put the team in a spot to find success. 2 weeks, well, we're a couple days away from the trade deadline, but 2 weeks out from the deadline and half a season before Ohtani can potentially walk away. And now the Angels are in like, whoa, we got to get something done. We got to make it happen. So it's very interesting. As far as the Mets and Verlander go, he's been linked to a couple of different teams, but everything that I'm seeing is the asking price is very high for Verlander, which is interesting because, again, if you're the Mets, do you really want to pay million next season if you're going to get a similar output from him. And the other thing with Verlander is his no trade clause. So you can't just dump him for the best deal and the best prospects because he's not going to want to go to a team that's not in contention. So you have to kind of put him somewhere that he's going to want to go to and he's going to be willing to go to. And again, you know, you don't when it comes to a guy like Verlander who is at this stage in his career, what does he want to do? Does he want to go play on the West Coast? Is he looking for another ring? Is he looking to get paid? Is he comfortable in New York on the East? Like, I don't know but I'm sure that comes into play because he is towards the end of his career. He's making a buttload of money right now. Maybe he's just okay being where he is, taking the money, and it is what it is. You know, maybe he does want to go play for LA. I don't know. But there's a lot of little nuances here that the Mets are trying to work through. And I'm surprised they got the Scherzer deal done, to be honest. I didn't think that was going to happen. I don't know.
Go ahead, JJ.
Well, the Scherzer trade, again, it was after talking about owners and players and kind of how they have conversations. Scherzer was not happy, and he was actually very outspoken with the general manager and the owner after they traded David Robertson to Miami. And that was, from what was said, was the final straw and why he waived his no trade clause. Now, the other side of it was he wanted to make sure that his option was he still had the option for the next season and whatnot. But that was what it was. He was not happy that they were selling. They wanted, if anything, I think Scherzer, from what I saw was they wanted him to stand pat, keep the team together. Yeah, this season's a wash. 2024, we'll be back at it again. But that was the kind of the straw on that side. So that's why he was very happy to at least to waive it and go from there with it. Justin Verlander, I don't think he's going to waive his trade clause. He went to New York for a reason, and it's not baseball reason. It was Kate Upton's career. Kate Upton, his wife, wanted to be in New York more so than she wanted to be in Houston, and Houston wanted Verlander to stay. But there was other reasons for him to go to New York. So I don't know if that is an option for Verlander to waive the trade clause, and because he has a full no trade clause too. I don't see that's going to be the case for him. I think he's going to stay in New York at least one more year. Maybe next year maybe next year possibly he can be traded or whatnot. But I don't see Verlander going anywhere just because you have to have. I've asked this question before as well. Who's taking Scherzer's spot in the rotation for the Mets? We don't know. They don't really have anybody. Who's going to take Verlander's spot then? So you're going to have to replace your number one and number two, or 1A, 1B in New York. Who's taking Verlander's spot in the rotation? They don't have anybody. So that's why I was a little bit surprised they did make the trade for Scherzer, but Scherzer pushed it. He said, "Yes, I want to be traded. Make it happen now." Verlander, I think this is where the Mets basically say, we'll unless we get blown away by an offer, then we'll trade, but we're not trading. We don't have anybody in-house, and we don't have anybody in the farm to basically make that move for us. So I don't see Verlander being an option to be moved unless a team overpays in prospects and reduces what they're going to ask for on the contract side. It's going to be very interesting. Astros were linked to him. The Dodgers are linked to him. I heard it. I saw Braves. I hope the Braves are not. I hope my Braves are not linked to Verlander. Go get some. I like Dylan Cease more than I like Verlander, but that's just my opinion on it. But the Dodgers, who are needing a starting pitcher, another starting pitcher, and the Astros, who are wanting a little bit more depth, especially after the Rangers made their moves yesterday, it would make sense for Verlander to go back to Houston with a familiarity in that organization. But I don't see Verlander being moved. Because the Mets have nobody in house to replace them. And you don't, I don't care if it's Queens or Bronx, in New York itself, you don't want to be in last place. And my goodness gracious, Chris, tell me if I'm wrong on this. If you have both New York teams in last place in their division, the tabloids and paper, New York Post, everybody is going to absolutely kill both organizations to no end. It will be the longest offseason that it will be in New York if both Mets and Yankees are in last place, which I'll have a bottle of champagne to celebrate if that happens.
Yeah.
It's been the longest half a season because and I'm not trying to insult New York sports fans here, but some of you are idiots because you pride yourself on having sports knowledge, and then you make these stupid claims about how why aren't we making moves before what do you want to do? This roster wasn't built to win a championship. You were relying on people like Josh Donaldson to get you to a world, and now it doesn't work. And now you think what? And then I see things like, oh, we'll flip Donaldson and flip Lemay. For what? Nobody wants them, especially now what you're paying them. It's absolutely insane. Like some of the things intelligent thinking fans say to fix the team.
Well, the Mets fans are also, being a Braves fan, I see more of the NL East of the teams. Mets fans are because you had the same team from last season to this season. They ran it back, but you got older with bringing in Verlander, and they were like, yeah, this is a World Series team. Have they forgotten how young the Atlanta Braves are? And their core pieces are all locked up 23, 22, 25, 26, 26, 25, 27, 28. That's the age. I'm not just throwing out, lottery numbers. That is literally the age of the core of the Atlanta Braves. And you're looking at it, they're hitting home runs, they're driving in runs. Just to throw their stat out here for it, the Braves pitching, and again, both sides, they're both doing really well. Only 2 pitchers for the Atlanta Braves have thrown more than 20 games, pitched in 20 games this season. Only 2. Bryce Elder would be the third, who's at 15 starts, I believe, right now, 14 or 15. And then everybody else, Jared Schuster, rookie's got 9. And then they have 4 who've pitched in 3 games, 4 have pitched in 4 games, and 5 have pitched in 3 games as starting pitchers. And they have 11-game lead in the division. Imagine when that team gets healthy. Mets fans there's no way. After a team that's blown 2 different 10-game leads in the division twice in 2021 and 2022 to the Braves, they thought this team, still the same, was going to come back and win this division, with the Braves who are just getting better and better and better every year because they're getting into their prime, whereas the Mets aren't.
Well, Met fan and Yankee fan have the same philosophy. They think you can buy championships still, and you can't. Baseball, like the NFL, baseball has shifted, and baseball has shifted to youth. You need young players. You need young talent on your team. Look at the Mets. They have the highest payroll. They're buying names that were great 5 years ago. I'm not saying that, Scherzer and Verlander are a wash, because they're not. They can still contribute to a team. But gone are the days where you just go out and spend $300 or $400 million on free agents, because that's not what's winning in baseball right now. If you look at the most exciting teams to watch and the teams that are leading their divisions, the one thing they all have in common is they have talented, youthful players. And you look at the Mets and the Yankees rosters, and they're filled with names in their 30s.
Hey, there we go, Kyle. Each time Kyle is a Boston Red Sox fan, so he's gonna take a shot at the. Go ahead, Mo. Go ahead.
I'm good, Coach. I was just checking out what Kyle said.
No, I was just saying, he's a Boston Red Sox fan, so each time he have a chance to take a shot at the Yankees, he's gonna do it. And anyway, speaking of what JG said, you know how the Astros and the Atlanta Braves became champions? Through the farm system, drafting and trade. We didn't spend no money, especially the Astros. All of our guys was drafted. Most of our guys were drafted.
The Braves have done something. They've actually innovated what's going on and how they've done it. Where Ronald Acuna came up to the farm, played 1.5 full years, and they signed him to a long-term deal. Ozzie Albies, 1.5, 2 years, signed him to a long-term deal. Michael Harris, our center fielder, was a rookie last year. They signed him to a long-term deal. Austin Riley played a couple, two full years in the big leagues, signed him to a long-term deal. Spencer Strider is about to be next here, if I remember correctly. I don't think he has signed a contract. I could be wrong on that one. They have developed, and then they've locked them up for long-term past their pre-arbitration years, to where they don't have to worry about that in the next 3 years. They can just say, hey, you're making your money now. And then Freddie Freeman was essentially signed to the Dodgers after the whole public negotiation and everything. Trade for Matt Olson. And by the way, you signed Matt Olson to a deal that's lower in annual value of salary, to what Freeman got, who was still 3 years younger than Freddie Freeman. Sean Murphy, same thing. You traded for Sean Murphy, 27, 28-year-old, and you sign him. I mean, they're innovative in the way that they have been doing business, and our teams are. The Tampa Bay Rays are doing the same thing. They signed Wander Franco after his rookie year last year, signed him to a long-term deal. The Braves have handled their business in a very innovative way, spending money. They are spending money, but they're doing it with the guys who are developed in-house, who are rookies, young guys at 22, 23 years old, and just saying, hey, we believe in you. We're going to lock you in now. And it's a team-friendly deal. So if it didn't work out, they can still trade those guys because they're not the highest paid player. Ronald Acuna is going to be MVP, and he's not even top 10 not even top 10. He's probably not even, if I have to be, probably round 15th, 16th as far as overall value of his contract. He's not even close to it. He's being underpaid. That if something were to happen, if let's just say for sheer, conversation, you can trade him tomorrow. Let's just say if he's not even the MVP, you could trade him tomorrow and you still get some good prospects because the contract is not a bad contract to trade. So the way that they've just done it, Alex Anthopoulos, genius of a general manager, one of the best general managers in the game now, has done a fantastic job. And the Braves are thriving, 5 straight division titles in the process, and there's more coming. And my hope, a World Series title in 2023 again.
Hey, Coach, before you move on, I think Kyle needs to also understand that the Boston Red Sox aren't doing much better than the New York Yankees.
There we go.
Not only are we battling you for last place in the division, I would argue Boston also has some of that Yankee mentality of we can just buy games. Because I don't know. Now, I'll give it to you. Boston's won more recently. But if you look at the last 3 or 4 seasons in Boston, what are they doing that's all that spectacular? They're struggling just as much as the Yankees are fielding championship quality teams. So you can sit here and be like, and I saw some of your comments, Boston's overachieving this year. The Yankees, if you were realistic coming in, this is what the team was. In my expectation, the Yankees are just about where they should be. 6 or 7 games over 500. Now, granted, I think Yankee fans are hoping the rest of the division sucked more than it does, and that 6 or 7 might put them a little higher in the standings. But realistic Yankee fans, this is kind of where we were. So I'm happy for you Boston fans that you're above expectations, but your above expectations is still battling the Yankees for last place in the division. So if finishing in 4th place ahead of New York is where you want to be, props to you, my man. I mean, I don't know what more you want. Because neither of us are going to the playoffs or competing for a championship. So I don't know how Boston fans are feeling about that.
Yeah, there we go. That's what I want. There you go.
Boston fans. Come on.
My boy Brandon for the block in the building. Shout out to you, brother. Golly, I love that. Love that. There we go. So we got Sony Michel announced his retirement to Sean McVay. Does this hurt the trending narrative for running backs in the league, or does this not have any shorts of impact? Reaction, Mo.
So Sony Michel had a good career. He was a solid change of pace back. His 2 best years were his first 2 years in the league. I think he rushed for over 900 yards both of those seasons. He on the championship year when he was with the Rams and he helped them win a Super Bowl, I think he had over 800 yards. He's a good running back, but impactful would have been if somebody like Nick Chubb said, "I'm done. I'm walking away before I'm 30." That would be different. He's a change of pace back. I'm not saying he's not a good football player, but in terms of at his position, it's not any impact at all. I don't think it has any impact at all. It would have more of an impact if you could get somebody like Derrick Henry to say, "I've had enough. I'm not going to carry the ball 250 plus times anymore and be underpaid for what I do." Sony Michel walking away it has zero impact at all. I mean, I wish him well in his future endeavors, but he's not one of the top 40, 50 running backs in football. So I don't think it has any impact at all. You would have more impact on a guy like Dalvin Cook, who's unemployed, but we know he's actually one of the better running backs. If he just said, "You know what? Nobody wants to pay me. Why do I keep doing this? Let me just walk away." So to me, it's just, Sony Michel moving on to better things in his next life. But the impact in terms of what's going on with running backs, I think it's zero.
JG?
Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, again, he was a good running back. He was not anything like he wasn't anything special in the NFL, but he was a good running back, and he was a core piece in what they were doing offensively at the time during their Super Bowl run. So I mean, it's just part of the game. Again, he's had some injury history. He's dealt with it. Your body feels it. It's a matter. You always have to ask the question, and doing that myself in my career in baseball, I asked how much more does my body can handle. And again, I wasn't putting my body in a car crash like Sony Michel and the running backs, in the NFL. But you still have to ask the question: is how much more mentally do I have to take it for my body physically? And I feel like that's probably where it was for Sony Michel. I don't again, and that's much like Mo just said. This isn't going to really affect how the running back class or how the people are viewing running backs because of who Sony Michel was. He was a role player. You get a star running back, Barry Sanders type of running back who after 9 seasons, 10 seasons retires. It shakes up like, oh my goodness. Same thing. If it was Saquon Barkley or Jonathan Taylor right now, since we talked about Taylor, if it was someone in that aspect of who was one of the class of the running backs, Derrick Henry all of a sudden decides to retire. Now you have something that's going to have a conversation and shake things up a little bit more. But with Sony Michel being a role player, we see this all the time. We see role players, no matter what position, just out of the blue retire because they don't want to deal with it anymore. They don't want to deal with the mental side of what you're putting your body through, as well as the physical side. Your body can't handle it anymore. And I think that's just more what it was for Sony Michel. And like I said, it's just not a conversation starter in that aspect of.
Chris?
First of all, Kyle, what does being a Dolphin and a Yankee, how does that even correlate to being a Laker fan? Are you implying the Dolphins are amazing and I'm a front runner? Because I'll take the Dolphin love. I will. As far as Sony Michel goes, it's not gonna shape the NFL landscape. But think about this: he's a middle of the pack running back, right? He's serviceable. Yep. He has a role in the league. Are we going to see more of these guys be like, I'm out early? Because the entire position's being devalued. The market and what they're being paid is going down. But the beating their bodies are taking is not. You can go and you can look at what NFL players are making. Third-string receivers are making more than starting running backs. So if backs were making the money, that's an incentive to stay, right? Like I'll put my body through this because I'm collecting a good check, and it's worth it to me. But as the running back position is devalued, both as far as being replaced on the field, because there are so many not great backs, there are so many serviceable backs that you can just plug in and play. And as the money keeps coming down, are we going to see more of these middle of the road running backs wrap it up early because they're looking at it and they're like, yeah, I could probably stick around for 2 or 3 more years, but is it worth it to my body? Is it worth getting an injury? Is it worth the physical toll and what I'm going to feel like 20 or 30 years from now because I stuck around for 2 or 3 more years just to make what? Because not even, to me and you, it's good money. But to these guys, compared to what they could have been making 5 or 6 years ago, they might be looking at like it's not worth it anymore. So no, I don't think it's going to shake the foundation of the NFL landscape. But I'm intrigued to see if we see more of this over the next 2 or 3 years, because I don't think you see this from the wide receiver position, because you have 3rd or 4th string wide receivers that are making good money who aren't putting their bodies through what a running back is putting their body through. Like, let's be honest, guys. If you're a 4th string wide receiver and you're making decent money, you may not be seeing the field that much. So you don't mind, kind of stringing your career along. You're not getting the shine that other guys are getting, but you're still making good money and you're not getting beat up in the process. These running backs, you see how teams use their 2nd and their 3rd tier running back. They beat the crap out of them and they're not making good money. I get it.
I got you. So we go to the Vegas odds this time. We go to the Vegas odds this time. Over and under odds, we have the NFC North side of things. So we're going to start from the bottom to all the way to the top. You got the Chicago Bears coming in at 7.5 wins. Chris, over or under 7.5 wins for the Chicago Bears?
I mean, the Chicago Bears have one of the 5 greatest rushing quarterbacks of all time, if you ask Justin Fields. So how can I sit here and not take the over when there's absolute greatness? Under. I am sorry. Justin Fields, he's talented. He's absolutely talented. They just don't have the pieces around them. They just don't. I think they're going to, at 6 games, maybe 7, but even at their ceiling, I still think they're coming under that 7.5 mark. I just don't think there's enough on that team for them to win 8 games.
Gotcha. JG?
It's going to be close. I think they're going to take a step forward. I don't know if they're going to be completely competitive. And I say this because I think the division in the NFC North, uncharacteristically because of the shift that's happened, is going to be a little bit more wide open. I think you're going to see, it's going to be a little bit more competitive, balanced out versus what it's been over the last 30 years because of Packers having Favre and Aaron Rodgers at the helm running the division for so long. I think now it's more wide open where you can include other teams like the Vikings being the top, Lions right now. So I think the Bears will win some games. They're going to get close to that 7.5. I think they'll fall short at 7. So I'm going to go with the under.
Okay. Mo, we're going to start with you on the Green Bay Packers side, but go over the Bears.
I'm going to go with under. I just don't think they have the weapons offensively. And we're all assuming best case scenario. Look, if you're the GM of the Bears, you take under if you knew that you were going to see a leap in his development. I'm talking about Justin Fields. If he plays better and maybe it doesn't equate to wins, that still would give you hope that he is developing, he is moving forward, he is learning how to recognize coverages. So to me, you want to see that development out of him. I don't think it's a make or break season for him, but for the team, I just don't think they have the talent on both sides of the ball. It's under just because they don't have talent. They don't have a lot of talent.
All right, I'm with JG. I'm gonna go even 7. That's it. I'm gonna go even. I'm gonna take the even for the Chicago Bears. So we started off with you, Mo, on the Packers side. 7.5 wins, same odds as the Chicago Bears. Over or under 7.5 wins for the Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers.
I'm gonna say even. I'm gonna keep them at 7. I don't think they go over. I'm gonna keep them at 7. I'm looking at Jordan Love, and he's kind of in the same position, even though he's been in the league longer. He's an anomaly. You don't know what he is. What the little bit that we saw of him, not impressive. He's full of potential, but they didn't do him a lot of favors. They didn't go out and get a ton of weapons. Like what's a young quarterback's best friend? A run game and a great tight end. Well, they have 2 really good running backs, but the offensive line is not what it used to be. And the fact that he's not a threat, at least defenses are not going to fear him on the outset. They're going to be walking up. They're going to play 8 men in a box until he can prove he can beat 8 men in a box, because they're not going to let them run. He's got to be able to put some fear into the defense that he can push the ball down the field and make accurate passes, especially when it comes to like crossing and cut routes. And right now, I just don't, from what I know of him and what I've seen and the weapons around him, I'm going to go, they'll win 7 games, no more.
JG?
I'm looking at the schedule right now for the Packers. I could see the Packers finishing last, and I think they're going to go under. I think they're going to be at 6 wins. I'm going to give them 6. They're probably 5, but I'll be optimistic. I know that's not really optimistic saying 6 wins. I think they're going to hit that. So I mean,
okay.
I'm going to go under at 6 wins. I think they're going to be in last place. Again, this was a team that was just dysfunctional with Aaron Rodgers. Who, again, we know how great Aaron Rodgers has been, and the weapons have not changed, much like we it was just said by Mo. The weapons haven't changed. I know Christian Watson's going to have another year of development. He was actually getting a little bit better as he went on, but Allen Lazard, So you're really going to trust Romeo Doubs to be the number 2? Maybe I'm not sure of all the other weapons they have there. I know they have pretty good tight end, but where's the offense going to come from outside of Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon? I don't know. Outside of with Christian Watson, I'm going to go 6. I'm going to go 6 wins and be on the under of the 7.5.
Chris?
So I'm scrolling through social media yesterday, and like that happens every offseason with the Miami Dolphins. I see some Tua throws from camp, and we all know how that works, right? Quarterback makes a couple of good throws at camp, but that's what they're going to put on the video. That's what they're going to blast out on their social media. Fans go, "Oh, look at it! Tua made a nice throw. He can throw a deep ball. That's amazing! Yay, Tua!" Where's all the video of Jordan Love? Where's all the video of the throw? Like, we've seen. Do they just not have a social media person in Green Bay? Like, we've literally seen nothing since he's come into the league. We haven't seen a training camp highlight package from him. We haven't seen him hit a laser over the middle. We haven't seen a 60-yard bomb from one. We've literally seen nothing. So there's 3 theories here, right? The first is Green Bay just can't afford a social media person to take the videos. That could happen. Green Bay is a weirdly run franchise. The second option is Jordan Love is the greatest kept secret in this league. He is going to come out and put up Peyton Manning and Tom Brady-like numbers, and Green Bay is just like, we don't want to tell anyone what we got. We just want to surprise everyone. And then the third option is he sucks. So, I don't know. Either way, I don't think he's Tom Brady or Peyton Manning. I think he probably sucks. Last place. I think I'm taking the under all day with Green Bay. Even if he's average, which again, I think if he was, we would see something from Green Bay being like, look, we're good. This guy can do these things. They don't even do that for him. Like, I don't know. Why aren't they just doing him the favor of telling fans, look how great we're Aaron Rodgers, we're good without him. Look at what he can do. Here's a video of. We don't even get that. Why? Is he that bad? Under all that.
Got y'all. So we all in agreement. It's a clean sweep. We all got the under for the Green Bay Packers. So we got the Minnesota Vikings coming in at 8.5 wins. Chris, start with you on the Minnesota Vikings.
The disrespect is all I have to say. First of all, I like Kirk Cousins so much more after watching quarterback. I just love me some Kirk Cousins. But second of all, I think they should have been even. I think that whatever you put Minnesota at, that's what Detroit should have been at, and vice versa. Because what has Minnesota done to deserve being a game behind in the odds from Detroit? Come on now. Now I still think Detroit's going to win the division, but I still think odds-wise they should have at least been the same number coming in. I'm going to go over because I think 8.5 is just ridiculous. It's 8.5, right, Coach? Yeah, why? Why 8.5? That's criminal. Especially when you're playing with the best kept secret Jordan Love in your division and one of the 5 greatest rushing quarterbacks of all time in Justin Fields in your division. 8.5 is way over all day. They're going to win 10 or 11 games. Come on, stop it now.
JG.
Yeah, I'm going to go the over, and I'm looking at their schedule right now, and they got a difficult schedule. Very tough part at the beginning of the year. I'm looking at it. They have Eagles in week 2, Chargers week 3, Chiefs in week 5. So that's a tough stretch that they're going to be dealing with right there, beginning part of the season. But it kind of evens out a little bit as you go in the second half. Packers, Falcons, Broncos. I don't think the Broncos are going to be any good, even with Sean Payton over there. So the schedule does even out a little bit more, but it's actually a pretty difficult schedule. But I'm going to give them 8. I'm going to give them over 8.5. I think they're still going to be they're the number, the top 2 team in this division compared to the Packers and the Bears and where they're at currently in their development as an organization with their rosters. You still have Kirk Cousins, who at the moment by default, because the quarterback in the NFC, the quarterback list in the NFC is downright putrid as it can be compared to the AFC. Kirk Cousins is the top 3 quarterback in the NFC right now. I'm going to go that far with it, top 3. So you still have JJ and Justin Jefferson. You have Jordan Addison when he's not speeding in his car at 3 a.m. So at the moment, you still have him there. I know no Dalvin Cook, but Alexander Mattison, who's a little bit younger, who's shown glimpses of being able to handle the starting job when Cook has been hurt. So we have a little bit more to kind of get a basis of what the Vikings can be. So I'm going to give them the over 8.5, and it'll be kind of close, but I think they can still get to 10 wins, and I think they'll be over.
All right, Mo, you end us with the Vikings over and under 8.5, and you start us with the Detroit Lions after.
Okay, well, on the Vikings, I'm going to go over. He's not beloved, but Kirk Cousins, when he's quarterbacking your offense, you end up having one of the top 5 offenses. It won't be any different this season. They're going to be a pretty explosive offense and a solid enough defense. They're going to go over. Like I said, not beloved, but when you look at Justin Jefferson, you look at some of the changes they made in the O-line, I think the Vikings are going to be, they're always good. They'll be very good once again. The Vikings bugaboo is the postseason, but they're pretty damn good in the regular season.
All right, start us off with over under for the Lions 9.5.
Yeah, I'm going to go over. They've done so much, and I think that sometimes you forget that Detroit on both ends, defense and offense, they made huge moves, not just in free agency, but in the draft. And they already were returning young, talented players. So to me, when you look at them and think about the Lions too, is they've been slept on for so long. They've kind of built up this team, and it's been under the radar. Nobody's noticed it. Slowly but surely, nobody's noticed it. So when I look at the Lions, and you can start on the defensive end, the Lions are going to be a problem. They're going to be a whole problem. I think the Lions are going to win the division outright. But the Vikings will be good, but the Lions will win the division outright.
JG?
Yeah, there's going to be a battle between Lions and Vikings, I think it is. And I said I had the Vikings at 10 wins. I'm going to give the Lions at 11. They're going to squeak it out, and they're going to be in the over right now. I agree with what was said. I think they should have been very similar, 9.5 wins for both groups, for both Lions and Vikings. Just because, again, much like Chris said, what does the Vikings have done over the last couple of years for them to drop down a little bit like that? I mean, again, they're still you have the quarterback. I trust at the moment. I trust Cousins over Goff. I know Goff had a really good year last year by his standards, but I mean, you still got to trust the quarterback who's a top 3 quarterback even in the NFC versus Goff, who's a top 10, top 12 quarterback in the NFC. Just by default, the quarterbacks in the NFC are not good right now. So. But I look at their schedule. I'm looking at it and saying I'm seeing 11 wins, and I go with the over for the Lions at 11.
Real quick, Coach.
Go ahead.
I agree that Cousins is definitely better than Goff, but Jared Goff's a good quarterback.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
He doesn't have the rocket arm. He's not going to blow you away, but he's very accurate. He's very accurate, and I think he's been slept on because he got traded for Matthew Stafford, and everybody thought he was the problem with the Rams, and I don't think that was the case at all. Matthew Stafford was an upgrade talent-wise, but Jared Goff, he took them to the Super Bowl too. Like, they had success with Jared Goff. So I just think people forget that Jared Goff is a very good quarterback.
He didn't take them to the Super Bowl. The referees gave the no call pass interference in the Superdome.
Wait. I know how you feel, man.
They lost that game. The referees and Roger Goodell gave it to the Rams just because they wanted LA to be LA, who just moved, to have some success, to try to make it a football market.
JG, I feel for you, man. I feel for you. That's a tough one. I know.
Oh man, that was pretty tough, but happy for Jared Goff, man. The dude. Well, I'll say again, the man is actually the best quarterback in this draft class as of right now. He's actually turned out to be the best in this draft class. You remember that Carson Wentz and Jared Goff debate? He's actually turned out to be the best quarterback actually in this draft class. So happy for Jared Goff. Jared Goff, he's doing big things over there with the Detroit Lions. So we got NBA league issue. So tournament teams. Damian Lillard's agent coming out and saying they want to only be with the Miami Heat smart move by the league on this, or does it really change anything? Chris, I'm going with you.
It doesn't matter. Look at the history of NBA stars who get traded. They usually end up with the team they want to go to, right? Now, I get why the league has to do it. The league has to come out and say, listen, you just can't tell other teams he's not going to play for you. That's bad for business. So if another team inquires about, a deal for your player, you just can't be like, well, he's not going to play for you. Like that's not good business. So I get why they have to put the memo out and express to the other teams, hey, if you're inquiring about Dame and they come back and say, well, he doesn't want to play for you, he only wants to play. I get it. We need to negotiate in good faith. At the end of the day, though, what does it change? Nearly every big star that's been moved over the last 10 years has gone to the team they want to go to. So if he's just going to end up in Miami anyways, then what difference does it make? And I get why you shouldn't have Portland telling other teams, well, he doesn't really want to play for you. He wants to play. I get that. But Portland shouldn't be doing that anyways. Dame's already put out there through his agent and through his other feelers where he wants to go. So every team in the league knows he wants to go to Miami. So at this point, if you're not Miami and you're trying to trade for him, you need to be able to have a conversation with him and be like, are you actually going to come play for us? And if he doesn't lean the direction you want him to lean, then don't make the move. This happens in sports all the time, doesn't it? Teams are up for trade. They hear in the news where they might be traded to, and they're going to have certain feelings on that. You think that when the Cleveland Browns are trying to trade for someone and that player's name comes up, they're like, oh, Cleveland, all right. You think they're probably not like, can we not go to Cleveland? Like, it happens.
JG?
So why now? That's my question to the NBA is why now? What didn't James Harden say, hey, I want to go to the Clippers? Why fixate on Dame? That'd be my question is why are we fixated on Dame to say, hey, you can't do this, Damian? I'll give the answer. It's because he's in the small market, wanting to go to the big market. The NBA is trying to continue to make the small market teams relevant. You have a superstar that has been there for his career, and he's now wanting out to go to the big market that's winning, that's competing for titles. Because what is the NBA? The NBA is a league of superstars that want to play in big market cities. New York, LA, Miami, Chicago. I know Chicago hasn't really been anything over the last 20 years, but you have the big markets that are just fixated, and then you have in what they've been able to do, just get anybody they want. Is the superstar league. Now we have the exceptions, the Denver Nuggets, who are winning recently. We have Boston, who's big market, and what they've been able to do. So you have the exceptions every now and then, but you see this every time. My New Orleans Pelicans, we had Chris Paul. Where did he want to go? Lakers, LA. Where did he end up going? Clippers, LA. Anthony Davis, he was in New Orleans. Where did he want to go? Lakers, LA. Where did he end up going? Lakers, LA. Kevin Durant went to San Francisco. I know they, at the time with Golden State, still a relatively big market, much bigger than Oklahoma City. And then where did he end up going? Brooklyn, New York. Where did he end up going after that? Well, Phoenix. He got traded to Phoenix at that point. So, but he ended up going to New York. Superstars want to go to big markets. What the NBA don't want, they don't want it to just be a superstar league in only big market cities, because now you make the small markets irrelevant. So that's why they fixated on Dame right now versus, hey, James Harden did the same thing, but no memo was put out to the teams about James Harden. Nobody's saying anything about James Harden. Hey, you got to make sure you negotiate in good faith to trade for James Harden from Philadelphia to the Clippers where he wants to go. So it's almost hypocritical at times of what the NBA is trying to do. I applaud them because they want the small markets to be relevant, but at the same time you've allowed this for so long, much like was just said. You've allowed the superstar players to dictate where they want to go in trades for many, many years. And even the NBA stepped in, prevented Chris Paul going to the Lakers. And where did they approve him to go? LA with the Clippers. So hypocrite. And I know that was David Stern, not Adam Silver, but it's the same. It's no different. So hypocritical on the NBA. If just let it be at this point. If he wants to do that, let him do it, and just say, hey, we can't do anything about it.
Mo?
Star-driven league. You wanted that. You wanted to create a star-driven league. That's what you do. You promote these guys. You put faces on them, unlike the other major sports. And they've been in control of the league for over a decade. You see stars now, I'm unhappy, I want to go. And then they're going to say, there's no way we're going to trade him. We're not going to move him. And what happens? He ends up getting moved to where he wants to be moved to. What about when the star's in the last year of a contract, his lame duck contract, and he's telling you, well, I'm not going to resign, so if you don't send me here, I'll just leave. We see that all the time. Now the new saying is it's a pre-agency, because they know if you don't send them where they want to go, literally they can just leave you hanging and you get nothing in return. So they get their wish. KD flexed his way out of Brooklyn. Kyrie flexed his way out of Brooklyn. Harden put back on the fat suit to get out of Brooklyn. So why center on Dame? He's no different than the rest of those guys. No different at all. I really think that Silver is trying to exercise or show some form of control over a situation he didn't have any control over at all. He didn't have any control. He can say all the things he wants, and one or two things are going to happen. Damian Lillard's going to be on the Heat, or he's going to be with the Blazers. But it won't be because of anything the league did. It'll be because they didn't work out the right compensation for Miami, or vice versa. But this whole thing about trying to stop stars from going where they want to go, that's not going to happen. Not anytime soon. It just won't. I understand you want to keep small teams relevant, but look, it's only a matter of time before we're looking at De'Aaron Fox and going, is De'Aaron Fox going to bounce? Right? It's only a matter of time when something like that happens. So, and I get why Charlotte locked up LaMelo. He's a young, talented, still rising guy. But if they didn't lock him up, you best believe he was going to bounce. He was going to bounce. They look, guys go to teams when they're older to try to win titles. When they're younger, they just want to go to bigger markets, because it really is all about your brand and marketing yourself. It's it's a challenge to market yourself in Portland, Oregon on a mediocre team, even if you're Damian Lillard. So I understand what Silver's trying to do, but he really can't do anything.
Well, to answer that, as far as what the Hornets locking up Melo, it's the same thing with, and I'll go to again just because it's my team. The Pelicans locking up Zion, because that's what the CBA wants these guys to do. When you get drafted, they want you. They basically skewed the rules to say your most money you're going to get is not going to be for your second contract. Won't be from another team. It's going to be from your own team that drafted. After that, all bets are off. You can go and make super max money and everything else somewhere else at that point. The point is they want these guys to be in their team that they drafted them past their first contract, and then which is what we see again. Anthony Davis signed his with the Pelicans, signed his second contract with the Pelicans. 2 years later, he goes, "I don't want to be here anymore. I got my money, but I don't want to be here anymore." It's going to be the same thing with Zion here pretty soon. It'll be the same thing with LaMelo here pretty soon. Probably Ja, if he didn't screw up what he was and do the things that he was doing, he'd be in the same boat as well, saying, hey, yeah, look, this is great and everything. Yes, we're doing well, but Memphis is not big enough for a superstar like me. I need to go somewhere else where I can go and promote myself and brand myself out and make as much money as possible. On top of that, playing in a big market that we're probably going to do some winning, a little bit more consistent winning. So the rules have allowed these small market teams to draft these guys, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and basically say, hey, yeah, sign your second contract with them, and then you're going to go make your money elsewhere, which is what we've seen. They sign that second contract, year 2, year 3 of that second contract, they go, all right, I don't want to be here anymore.
In LaMelo's, in Zion's case, I get why the team would lock them up, but it was great for both of them because they're both injury prone. You don't know what their futures hold. LaMelo's injury prone, like his brother. He didn't know. He didn't want to end up like his brother, so he wanted to get the bag right away. I don't think LaMelo Ball's in love with being in Charlotte, but I know that he wanted to make some generational type money to secure his family for years to come. So he did it. Same for Zion. Zion's a big dude, but he's big and brittle. So of course he's going to take the bag because his health issues, you never know what he's going to be. Them signing those deals, that was smart. I totally understand that, why they did that. But there will be some younger players who will walk away from some of these smaller teams. They just will be. I look at Jaylen Brown and the deal that he just got. That's a great deal for Boston and for Jaylen Brown. You might say he's overpaid, sure. But the Celtics knew if they didn't give him that money, he would have walked. They would have lost him for nothing. And they couldn't afford to do that. So now, if things don't work out, because they're going to run it back. They're going to run it back. Let's say they come up short again, and they say, well, it's Jaylen Brown's fault. Because the next offseason, Jason Tatum's going to get $350 million. And then it's going to be a little bit difficult to put together roster construction with two guys making over $600 million. But they had to make that move so that they still have the ability to move him if things don't work out. So I'm okay with the big deals. It doesn't surprise me at all. It's just the nature of the beast, like you said. The last CBA, it was all about making sure or finding ways to make guys stay with their original franchises longer. Like you said, you don't want to leave here. You can make the most money here. That's a strong attraction when somebody says, if you stay with us, $250 million. That's generational money for you and your family. That's hard to walk away from. So I totally understand that.
Especially as a 24-year-old. I mean, if you're 24 years old, you're going to get that much money. Absolutely. I mean, Boston is a different animal in asking for Jaylen Brown because, again, Boston they have the check marks what it is. Storied franchise, big market. So you can't compare Boston to Charlotte or New Orleans, who are two franchises that are just there. So I mean, they can lock up Jaylen Brown, and Brown's probably going to stay his whole career in Boston because of where he is playing at. Plus, now again, I'll take a shot at my own franchise. Boston has proven to make adjustments to win, whereas Pelicans have not. Pelicans are Boston is synonymous to winning, one of the most winning franchises in the NBA. Pelicans are not. So there's a different aspect of that side of it. And to answer the question that Kyle put up, market still matters. Market still matters to these guys, especially because it's not just about what you're doing off the court. It's about or on the court. It's about what you do off the court. You don't see Giannis, and to his point, bringing up Giannis in there. Giannis is not doing a lot of commercials. Giannis, the franchise has built a winner around Giannis, absolutely. But it's more than that. So what are you doing off the court? Dame Lillard is in commercials. He's in Gatorade commercials. He's doing everything he can off the court to make his extra money on top of and being the superstar that he is. But you're limited outside of Portland. You're limited in Portland. Outside of Portland, you go somewhere else. That matters. You put Dame Lillard in New York, he's on every commercial and every billboard you can think of. You put him in Miami. My goodness, the star power just skyrockets. You put him in LA, the star power skyrockets. Your star power in Portland has a ceiling, just like your star power for Giannis has a ceiling in Milwaukee, and that's what's going to be. And that's just how the NBA has been built for last. I'll say it probably a little bit longer, but I'd say last 25 years. And you can go a little bit further back than that, but for the last 25 years of how these players have been marketing themselves and how they've been able to, and the NBA has been marketing them, and it's just become the superstar league more and more every 5 years. That's what we're seeing now, where the market does matter to these guys, and that's why you don't hear. When's the last time you heard a player say, "I want to be traded to Memphis. I want to be traded to Indiana. I want to be traded to Charlotte." Nobody says that. I want to be traded to Oklahoma City. No, it's I want to be traded to Miami. I want to be traded to LA. I want to be traded to Boston. I want to be traded to New York. All big markets.
That's true, but when do they ask for the trades? Kevin Garnett didn't leave Minnesota till he was in his 30s. Dame's asking for a trade now. He's in his early 30s. A lot of guys move late at the end of their careers because they haven't won. But they had no problem with that small market because they were still getting paid the max dollars. They're there over a decade. So they didn't run to a big market in their prime. They stayed there for over a decade. So I get that the idea that everybody goes to big markets, but everybody actually doesn't go to big markets. There's a reason why those small market teams have those superstars for over a decade, because like you said, they can pay them. These guys don't jump ship till they're well into their 30s, when they're past their primes. That's a totally different situation. Anthony Davis left, but it wasn't a secret. We knew he was going to leave as soon as he signed on with Clutch Sports.
Yeah, you have exceptions to the rule. You have exceptions in there with guys like KG and Nate. You have the exceptions, absolutely. And loyalty mattered more to those guys. And Dame has been very vocal about how he's been, every time he signed his contract, another contract with Portland, it was, hey, I'm loyal to y'all. Well, and the aspect of what we're seeing now, loyalty has to go both ways. And Portland, and that's where I say I put fault on the team. In this aspect of, much like we talked about Shohei Ohtani and the Angels, I put fault on Portland for not doing enough to bring in players to help Dame. And when they traded C.J. McCollum to New Orleans, that I believe was the final straw. I think he allowed it to be, okay, let's see what you do. But when they traded C.J. McCollum, it was the 1-2 tandem of Lillard and McCollum. When they traded him, I think that was the final straw for Lillard. Says they're not going to help me. So the loyalty was broken from Portland to Lillard, not to Lillard to Portland until just recently, because he just had enough of it. Same thing with KG. KG, they weren't winning as much in the back end of his career. He goes, okay, I need to go to a winner now. I need to go play in the postseason. I need to play in the NBA Finals. I need a chance to win a championship. So you have exceptions to the rule, absolutely. But you have guys like Davis. You have guys like Paul, like Chris Paul. You have these guys that are just that they're at their team. They go, this isn't what I want. I need bigger. I need better.
Yep. So you got a question for Desto right here. Are teams smarter to offer them deals so early? Chris, give your initial thoughts on that one.
I mean, yeah, you want to keep your guys there. So if by offering them a deal early, they're going to stick around a little bit longer, that's great. But like Jonathan said, and like we've seen, what does a deal mean? Because you have guys who sign deals and they're not staying there for the entire deal. They're staying there to get paid and they want to leave. So yeah, it makes sense for a team to sign a guy early, but it doesn't mean they're going to be there for that entire deal. You might give them an extra year or two than you would have previously. But again, it comes back to this idea. Should athletes honor their contracts? Should teams do more to build around said athlete when they agree to be there for 5 or 6 years? And that's the constant back and forth we play, right? Because a team signs a superstar to a deal, they commit to be there for 4 or 5 years. 2 years in, said superstar is like, well, we're not winning, so I want out. The team turns around and says, well, it's a process. We're trying to put pieces around you. Superstar says, well, you're not doing it fast enough. You're doing me wrong. I'm wasting my talent here. I want to go to a different that's the cycle we're constantly in. And then you throw in the other parts of, did they really want to be with a small team? Did they want to just get the money they could because it benefits them to get the most money for the second contract where they were drafted, knowing the entire time they wanted to go somewhere else? That's all a part of it.
Got you. So we go to the NFL with Sean Payton actually went back on his he actually went back off his statement, commenting on Rodgers coming to Rodgers basically coming. It says Rodgers comes to defense of the defense of his offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett. Chris, give me a reaction since you made the mug.
Somebody got in Peyton's ear and was like, Sean, we shouldn't be doing that. And he was like, okay, I guess you're right. And he comes back and he backsteps it a little bit. But it doesn't change what he said. And the fact that it was pretty much all completely true. The only issue I have with Sean Payton is that he kind of compared bringing in Aaron Rodgers. Well, he didn't kind of. He compared bringing in Aaron Rodgers and the offseason moves by the Jets to what the Redskins, who are now the Commanders, did back, however many years ago. I have a little bit of an issue with that. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is washed. I do think a lot of the names that Washington brought in during that time were well past their prime. But aside from that, he didn't say anything wrong. And as far as Aaron Rodgers goes, of course he's going to defend Hackett. That's his drinking and dart buddy. That's the homie. Like, that's literally his friend. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is defending Hackett, the offensive genius. I don't think he's defending Hackett and the job that he did in Denver last year. He's defending the guy that he drinks and plays darts with, because that's his dude. And he knows that when the Jets play the Broncos this year, the success in that game isn't going to be because of Hackett. It's going to be because of his arm. So he has no issue defending his boy, because his boy isn't going to make or break the Jets season. Aaron Rodgers is. So Aaron Rodgers said to Hackett, I got you. Just like in Green Bay, I had you. We're cool. You just keep bringing the beers when we play darts, and we're going to be okay. Let me go talk about what Peyton said about you. I got you, guy. So I see both sides. I get why Peyton walked it back. Someone said, hey, we probably shouldn't do that. And he's like, all right, fine. And then Aaron's like, don't worry. We all know you sucked last year, but I got you. I'll win that game for you. Silliness. Let the man, let him say what he wants to say. He wasn't lying.
Go ahead, JG.
I think more of the walking back, and I know he had to include Nathaniel Hackett in the walk back, but I think it was more in kind of what Chris said. Somebody went in the Sean Payton's office and says, hey, you called out your organization, and there's people who have an office just down the hall from you that you basically are calling out from. All right. And even on top of this, John Elway, who's still loved in Denver, even though he did a terrible job as far as how running the front, he's still loved there. So you're calling him out in the process too. This isn't New Orleans. All right, Sean. And again, I'm my former coach here, if he is a Saints fan, they're looking at him and saying, you're not in New Orleans where nobody gives a crap of what you say. All right. Denver is a little bit different. It's a bigger, again, talking about it's a bigger city. It's a little bit more high profile. Your comments, what you said, we don't give it. I'm sure they don't give a. They probably want to say we don't give a shit what you had to say about Nathaniel Hackett. We don't care. All right, we all don't like Nathaniel Hackett. That's why he got fired in week 15. Yeah. But you called out your own organization in the team, saying, "Hey, we cared about the moves we made more than the moves we made on the field." And that's, I'm sure, it was probably the walk back. But they said, "Hey, just for PR purposes, go ahead and make an apology, non-apology for making your comment." Because he didn't apologize, is what he said about Nathaniel Hackett. He just said, "Hey, maybe I shouldn't have said that, or maybe it wasn't smart." Which is that's the typical. For watching Sean Payton for 15 years, that is a typical Sean Payton thing, where he makes a comment a day or two later and goes, I probably shouldn't have said it, but I did, but I probably shouldn't have. So I'll acknowledge that it wasn't smart, but it is what it is. And again, everybody's scratching their head goes, okay, so was this an apology? No, it wasn't an apology. It wasn't. It was a typical Sean Payton move that he learned from Bill Parcells. Again, we go back and think about it. Has Bill Parcells ever apologized for a comment that he said back in the day? Of course not.
No.
Of course not. So, at the same time, which is a typical Sean Payton move that he called out his franchise. Franchise was not very happy. The people in the offices down the hall from him were just like, "Hey, you came after me," and we're moving on. So, yeah, Sean Payton at his finest right now.
Mo?
I was disappointed in Sean Payton. Come on, man. I love what he said. Just because a few people was mumbling about him or what he said in the cafeteria, it's no big deal. They were a bad team. Hey, Coach, like Coach Prime said, you was part of that bad team. Y'all sucked.
Yep.
Y'all sucked.
Yep.
I don't have no problem with him saying that. They did stink. They stunk top to bottom. He have every right. For him to backtrack, I get it. The PR police came in and said, come on, Sean, we're starting new. There's people in here who don't want to sit by you no more. I get that. But come on, man. You should have stuck with that. I love that about Sean Payton. Yep. Aaron Rodgers, the funny one. Now, all of a sudden, he's Aaron Rodgers / enforcer. I got you. Step back. Hold me back. Come on, Aaron. Chill. Aaron, I give Aaron Rodgers this. We talked about this before. He's fully embracing being the Jet quarterback. he's completely Jet now. He's ensconced in there now. Like he wants you to think that he's been there as long as Joe Namath was back in the day. Like he's that guy. So I enjoy the back and forth, but I wish Sean Payton had to walk back nothing.
But so here's where I feel like I disagree with you though, Mo. What if Russell Wilson in the Broncos offense has a similar season this year that they did last year? Then what? Now who do you blame at that point, Sean? Who do you blame?
Russell Wilson.
But he just threw Nathaniel Hackett under the bus for screwing around Russell Wilson and allowing Russell Wilson to be what he was last year. And now if it happens again, you got to blame somebody. Sean's supposed to be the quarterback guru that was supposed to fix Russell Wilson. If you don't fix him, you're going to turn around and say, yeah, hey, Russell, we tried Russell Wilson, wasn't the guy for us. But at the same time, they're going to look at him and go, but you just said all this about Nathaniel Hackett, and you couldn't fix Russell Wilson. You're the great quarterback coach that you are. So he had no choice but to at least walk back.
Let me ask you, JG, what do you think? You think Russell Wilson gonna look like the dude from last year?
Yes.
I think
yes.
I think Sean Payton's gonna set him up for success. He's gonna have a better year, and after he has a better year, he's gonna be like, the difference is I'm not Hackett.
I don't. I think Russell Wilson is what we've seen from him. Russell Wilson has not been a great quarterback. And I've never been high on Russell Wilson. I know a lot of people are or have been when he was in Seattle. I was never high on Russell Wilson even when he was in Seattle. But what we saw the last season in Seattle to what we saw last year, we have seen regression in who Russell Wilson is. I don't see all of a sudden, him just tanking like this, tanking and then shooting back up like the stock market. I don't see that being the case. I think what we've seen from Russell Wilson.
I think he has to be the quarterback he's been most of his career. And if you know what they did in the offseason, they're going to feature a power running game. They're gonna the offense is going to be balanced. They're going to run the ball. Russell Wilson is going to do what he does best. He's going to eat off a play action pass. So
Javonte Williams is coming off of ACL surgery. I mean, who's the other running back they have in Denver?
Well, they're going to do running back by committee. I mean, what they did with that offensive line, they're not. Hey, we just talked about the running back position. You don't need a 1,500-yard running back. You good if you got a guy that can give you 800 or 900 yards.
I get it, but what the time frame that you had with Russell Wilson being successful, you didn't have a superstar running back, but you had Marshawn Lynch. There is no Marshawn Lynch on that team. There is no running back that's going to absolutely is going to pound the ball to help Russell Wilson on that team. I don't see it. Javonte could have been prior to the ACL tear. We don't know what he's going to be like this year now. There's not another running back on that group that I'm sitting here saying, hey, you know what? They can carry this offense to allow Wilson to at least be throw the ball 23 times and be able to be successful, which, as we've seen, that's not successful in this game anymore. That is not a successful formula in today's football. You have to be able to have a quarterback that can throw the ball and be able to be somewhat balanced with a run game. I don't see that being the case for them. What we've seen from Russell Wilson is exactly who he is.
You're going to have question marks at both places, JG. We don't know what Breece Hall going to be. I don't know what he's going to be like when he come back. And he's running behind the offensive line. That's not a good offensive line. So it looks like it's a recipe for him to be back on the IR again. So there's all kind of question marks. The bottom line is we won't know till they actually get out in the field, play the games that count. But if I'm betting, I'll take Russell Wilson and Sean Payton put together. I'll take that, and I think that Russell Wilson have a bounce back year. I'll take that bet.
So Aaron, you're saying what you have with Aaron Rodgers, you trust Russell Wilson more than what you have with Aaron Rodgers?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you think Russell Wilson's toast, and I don't think that's the case. And while Aaron Rodgers is a greater quarterback, if that offensive line is trash, he's going to be trash.
I just go by what I've seen over the last couple of seasons, really the last couple of seasons, the last in Seattle and what I saw last year. Again, I'll agree with you I agree.
That way about Kurt Warner too. Remember when he was on the Giants? Kurt Warner looked like trash on the Giants. He was garbage. Went to the Cardinals, and he looked like Kurt Warner from the Rams again. I'm just saying. Sometimes your set up for success with the coaching staff and the players around you.
Not the same because you had Larry Fitzgerald and Anquan Bolden at receiver.
Right, and what did he have on the Giants when they looked like trash? I'm just saying.
So okay, I'm being facetious. I'm not putting this in. I'm not putting this in your mouth. But you're going to sit here and say that that Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton are the next up and coming of Larry Fitzgerald and Anquan Bolden.
Well, I don't know what they are because of how young they are. They have to play. But I will say this: if Jerry Jeudy can stay on the field, he's going to be a top receiver. Give him time. Jerry Jeudy got a long route tree. He's quick out of his breaks. Great hands. I like to see what he can do under again. Sean Payton's not just there for Russell Wilson. He's there for everybody that's in the skill position. So right. I think he makes everybody a little bit better with his play calling.
Wait, I mean, my Saints benefited from Sean Payton. I am not undermining how great of a coach and how great of an offensive mind Sean Payton is. Loved him in New Orleans, but I'm more looking at it as Russell Wilson. I don't think Russell Wilson's fixable. I just don't. I don't even think Sean Payton can, and that's why going back to the original topic. He had no choice to backtrack because again, if he fails with Russell Wilson, there's going to be blame on Russell, but they're all going to look at him and go, "Why did you not fix him then?"
Right, but if he succeeds, doesn't he get all the credit?
Absolutely, he does.
I think with Russell Wilson, I feel it's a little overplayed because if you look at people who want to point to Russell last season, they're going to be like, well, wait a minute. It's not just last season. If you look at his last couple of years in Seattle, you can start to see the erosion. And then last season happened and everyone's like, well, and that's where we are. He's been dipping, and this is the new Russell Wilson. But if you look at his last 2 seasons in Seattle, 2020, the man passed for over 4,000 yards, 40 touchdowns, 13 picks, 105 rating. 2021, he was injured for part of it. He still passed for 3,100 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 6 picks, 103 rating. Now, his injury history has upticked his last 2 seasons in Seattle. I think he was hurt both those seasons. So I understand the injury side of it. But if you look at the production side of it, his production his last 2 years in Seattle, when he was healthy, was fine. Now, I'll take the injury argument because he is a mobile quarterback. He didn't run much last season. So if he's going to continue doing that this season, that could be an issue. But if you just look at his last 2 years coming out of Seattle, there wasn't much to go off of to say that we were going to get what we saw in Denver. So I'm with Mo. I think it's going to be an anomaly. He's slimmer. He seems to be in a system that's going to fit his skill set better. So I think we're going to see more of the 30-10 guy as opposed to what we saw last season, 16-11, 84 passer rating.
Just to go off again, everybody views stats differently in certain stats and what the analytical stats some they view it a little bit high, some view it low. Look, 3,000 yards, right about that in his last year in Seattle, 25 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. But here's what I look at as well. We'll go 2017 through 2020 to 2020. His QBR was 61.9, 63.3, 71.5, 67.1. Last year, and again, injuries can be a factor in that, sure. But his 2021 season, it was a 54.7. It dropped. And then it dropped last year to Denver. Again, was it all his fault? No, I am not saying it was all his fault. Nathaniel Hackett did a horrible, horrible job. Did not help him at all. But the QBR dropped to 36.7. So as good as the numbers are, the basick numbers of passing yards, touchdowns, interception ratio, all that, as good as those were, they were still they were down too, though. As you said, 3,100 yards passing, but he went from in 2017 39, 83, 34, 48 in 2018, 41, 10 in 2019, 42, 12 in 2020. So 2019, 2020, he was 4,000 yards, and then it went down to 3,100 yards from there. Again, yes, he played 14 games in 20. So he missed 2 games in that aspect of 25 touchdowns after throwing 34, 35, 31, 40, and then 25. So the touchdown numbers went down as well. Subtracted 2 games. Could the 2 games that he missed probably make a difference? Maybe on that side of it. But the QBR, I look at it, and it dropped. He went from, again, in the 60s, one season in the 70s, to 54.7 in that Seattle season. And then, like I said, last year was, it was just atrocious there. But that 54.7 did drop. Would I've liked to see a little bit more of a normal type of season with coaching? Could it be with Pete Carroll and see if that number went back up? I would have liked to have seen that. So there is no variable in the evaluation process of Russell Wilson, but there is that variable that the coaching was just horrendous in Denver. That variable has to say, well, there's a reason. If we see that QBR staying around the low 50s with Sean Payton, to me, that tells me what we see from Russell Wilson is exactly what we see. And there's nothing and he is the quarterback that we see from here. And I don't think there's anything that's going to get him back to the level that some people have him at.
Gotcha. So we on the last topic. We on the last topic of this morning show, second to last, before we get in to Mo's boxing segment. So we got Travis Kelce threw a punch yesterday, teammate at training camp over the weekend. And it's barely a story. Draymond Green's punch at Jordan Poole almost a year ago. We still talking about it today. Mo, reaction?
You know what? Maybe because it's football, right? How many times you see fights in training camps? It's not unusual. It's actually the norm. So I don't think it's a thing at all. I mean, maybe you could say Travis should have showed more restraint. I don't know what the guy said to him. Maybe he thought he hit him the wrong way or grabbed him the wrong way. I don't know what actually happened, but because it's football and it is what it is. And look, he's not just a guy. He's one of your two best players. So he's not just a guy. Maybe he thought that he did something where he could have almost injured him, and he was sensitive to that. I don't know. But what I would say is because he's one of the leaders on that team and he's one of your two best players, it's a non-issue to me. If Andy Reid's good, I'm good.
All right, JG.
I mean, yeah, we see this all the time. Every training camp, you have fights break out. So I mean, like it's a physical sport. They hit each other, So it's almost like we have been the society in sports and fans in sports are conditioned to say, well, that's normal. That's normal for the NFL because, again, all they're doing is hitting each other. You have basically punches in not actual punches, but based off how the offense and defensive linemen are, they're punching each other. You hear that side that you have to have a punch into the chest of the defender. Same thing with the DB receiver drills. You have to punch the chest to try to throw off the receiver off his route. So we've been conditioned to say football is football, it's physical no matter what. Versus the NBA, that doesn't happen. When we have a fight break out in the NBA, it's all over SportsCenter. It's all over. It's, oh my goodness, this was amazing. This was something that happened. What a terrible event. When we hear about this in the NFL, it's another Tuesday. It's another Tuesday in training camp. It's a small 5-minute segment on ESPN versus the breaking story in the NBA. So that's why, again, is it a big deal in the grand scheme? No, it's not because of the sports played. Travis Kelce made the comment saying, "Hey, you know what? This is on me. I should have done better on it." I think that was the difference as well, is how Travis Kelce's handled the situation versus how Draymond and Jordan Poole handled it. Where Travis said, "You know what? Hey, that's on me. I should have been a better leader. I shouldn't have done this." Versus here we are still kind of going back and forth a year after that happened with Draymond and Jordan Poole, and they're both still kind of saying, well, hey, it wasn't really my fault, or this is what happened. They're still telling a story about what happened instead of somebody being accountable to the situation that occurred. Kelce said, yep, it's on me. I screwed up.
Mo?
And I think Jonathan hit it right on the head there, because what is Draymond to Golden State? He is the enforcer, right? What is Travis Kelce in Kansas City? He's part of that old guard. It's him and Mahomes. Those are the two guys, right? So the difference is Poole thought he was the future of that team. Poole probably thought he was a little more in Golden State than he actually was. Whoever Travis Kelce punched at training camp yesterday, who knows if he even makes the team? And if he, honestly, I don't know who he punched, but let's be honest. If you just look at the number of people that are in training camp, there's a good chance that guy doesn't even make the team. And if he does, he isn't going to be in the same status as Kelce or Mahomes is. And the guy that he probably hit probably realizes, oh, shoot, I upset Kelce. Are they going to cut me because of this? What? Did I just get myself in a situation by upsetting? That's a whole different mindset. When Draymond hits Poole, Pool's like, well, we're the same. I'm on the same level as you. How dare you? I'm a man. Don't treat me like. It's a whole different mindset, right? And then it bothers Poole the entire season. Draymond didn't take accountability because he doesn't care, because he's like, well, the kid spoke out of pocket. He got what he had coming to him. He should just take his medicine and move on. Poole's like, you can't do me like that. This isn't right. I deserve more respect. Whole different mindset. And on top of that, you have the whole, like JG said, basketball isn't supposed to be physical like that. You hear about a scrum in NFL practice on a Tuesday, you're like, is everyone okay? Did Kelsey tweak an ankle? Because I can't have Kelsey tweaking an ankle. He starts in my fantasy this week. I need a win for Ken. Like that's where the fan mindset goes. They don't care if there was a fight. Totally different mindset. I get it.
Which I'm reading the article real quick. This was actually the second, first punch that Kelsey's thrown, but it's the second in 2 days. So back-to-back days, Travis Kelce got into either a shoving, pushing match or something that occurred at practices. So this is kind of like I won't say a common theme of Kelce, but it has been so far this training camp.
So people stop messing with him. Stop messing with Kelce.
Mo, your thoughts on the punch?
I don't know. Like I said, you don't mess with star players like that. Chris hit it on the head. This guy that hit him, he might not even be on the team. And look, for Kelce to react the way he did, like I said, maybe Kelce felt like, dude, you almost hurt me. You know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean to this franchise? So it's just not uncommon for players to get tangled up in training camp. It just so happens it was a high profile player in Travis Kelce, and I just think it's a non-issue.
Yes, indeed. So we go to the last segment, which is Mo boxing segment. But before you get your segment off, Mo, we got to congratulate Terrence Crawford for winning the first ever undisputed welterweight championship. That is his second title in the second undisputed championship. He was at 140. He defeated Julius Ndongo in a knockout. But his biggest test ever didn't turn out to be a test. It turned out to be an absolute beatdown. And the way, I guess it was the way Earl Spence Jr. got beat down. Nobody expected it. Earl Spence Jr. coming in the fight with a higher knockout ratio. Basically, probably was the better technical boxer. But what Terrence Crawford showed in that fight showed his fast ability to counterpunch. Counterpunch was killing him all night. You saw Errol Spence in the fight. He came in, looked tired, looked like he was sleeping a little bit. He didn't come in prepared as much, didn't come in as prepared. Terrence Crawford, the moment he came, if you look at that interview that he did with Jim Gray, you can see him literally focused, wrapping his own hands and just talking like, hey, I'm ready to go. I'm not trying to talk. I'm just ready to go out here and ready to fight. And then when he comes out with a fishing net and he comes out on an Eminem song, Lose Yourself. That's how you know that he was ready to go come out and fight. The moment the bell rang, Errol Spence wins the first round. He did a great job of jabbing, going to the body. Then after the knockdown, when you're not used to getting knocked down and when you're used to doing it to everybody else and hurting everybody else, he takes a counter punch by leaning over, trying to go to the body, and he gets knocked down. He never recovers after that. And after that, it was just a massacre of counter punching, uppercuts. Earl Spence definitely timing was off. Not going to blame the car wreck because he'd been recovered from that. Not going to blame the weight drain. This is a point of Terrence Crawford just being a way superior boxer than Earl Spence Jr. And to be honest, this fight wasn't even worth to see another rematch because in this fight, what's going to be different from the rematch? Terrence Crawford was quicker to his punches, and to be that caliber boxer to knock him down four times, a boxer like that. Most people don't recover from nothing like that. And give credit to Earl Spence. He tried to hang in there. He tried to fight. It's got so bad. I'm yelling, fight, stop the fight. I mean, he was getting a brutal punishment. But other than that, Mo, get to your guy, man. If you want to touch on any thoughts about this.
Just real quick on the fight.
Go ahead.
As I'm watching the fight, I'm looking at how quickly Crawford is counterpunching.
Yeah.
In the speed advantage. But at the same time, you saw in between rounds, Spence's corner is saying, stop standing right in front of him.
Yes.
If you're going to pressure him, you got to go with angles, because what Crawford did, to his credit, was he came out southpaw. His dominant hand is actually his left hand. And he came out using that as the jab. And most times you don't have the same quickness, but his jab, if you watch the fight, it has so much pop to it. Like at one point, I think he started closing his eyes with his jab, with the jab alone. But then when he started hitting him with those counters, you could tell right then and there that Errol Spence's confidence was shot. The first knockdown, Coach, I think, took his confidence away.
It took it, definitely took it away.
The second knockdown made him have to reach. He realized after the second knockdown, the only way I can get back into the fight, I got to land something big, which means he had to take chances. And when you take chances, what happens? You get caught.
I mean, he knocked him out. He knocked him down with a power jab, and that just shows you how powerful that damn jab was.
Yeah, I never seen that.
How strong he really is, and how strong he really is. And I think Errol Spence went away from the game plan, because when he come out the first round, he's jabbing really good. He's going to the body, but all of a sudden, you saw flaws in that first round. You like that counter punch for Terrence Crawford is quick as hell. That counter punch, he immediately reaches and he counter punches. It's the time that he literally got him in the corner. And you know where Errol Spence got think you hurt. He goes after you, and Terrence Crawford just hits him with a quick counter punch, and I think that made Errol Spence back up a little bit, back up a whole lot, and then he got to the point where he said in the press conference, now that I got knocked down, I was taking counter, but I'm in survival mode. I'm in fight back mode. Even when Errol Spence hits him with his hardest punch, it didn't move Crawford. It didn't even move him. Crawford was just so much superior, so much better. He could take a punch. It just showed he could take a punch, how strong he is. But that power jab and those counter punches was basically the difference. It just wasn't nothing Errol Spence could really do for him. He even hit him with a couple of times with that left. His best punch. He didn't even move Terrence Crawford. He just took it like it and just stood there. And you just got to give credit to a boxer like that.
Look, last night, Coach, night, Terrence Crawford looked like a bigger, stronger Pernell Whitaker. That's what he looked like last night. He was, when you can go into a fight and inflict that much punishment on your opponent, and you look like you just got out the shower, that's dominance.
And I'm gonna go one step further, and I know I said this before we get to your segment right here. If I ain't gonna lie, if Canelo might be a bigger fighter, he may be bigger. Crawford may be a better boxer. He may be a better boxer. If that fight ever comes up, I'm gonna take Terrence Crawford.
Oh, I think it can't be too much.
I know Canelo is bigger, but we seen Floyd Mayweather back him up, and he was smaller. We seen Pacquiao back up some much bigger fighters, and you can't tell me that Canelo wasn't bigger than Floyd. He was far bigger than Floyd, and Floyd was able to back him up. So you mean to tell me someone that got power and speed like that and ability to counter punch can't do that same thing to Canelo? Hey man, I'm telling you, man, that was a hell of a display. But go ahead, Mo. Go ahead, get your guy going.
So speaking of long fighters, we're going to talk about Mark Breland real quick. Mark Breland is famous for being part of that 1984 gold medal Olympic team. He won gold himself, but several fighters on that team won gold. It's considered one of the greatest Olympic boxing teams of all time. Mark Breland is also considered one of the 3 greatest amateur fighters of all time. In 111 amateur fights, he had 110 wins. That's how great an amateur fighter he was. He also trained in the world famous Crunk Gym. If you know about the Crunk Boxing Gym, that's where Thomas Hearns trained, Milt McQuarrie, and all those kind of guys from Detroit where they get down. He trained with him. He actually boxed and sparred with Thomas Hearns before he became a pro. When he turned pro, he wins his first 14 fights, gets a chance at the vacant WBA championship, wins the championship, defends it 4 times. And this is where we get into his big fights of note. He's got 3 big fights of note in his career because Mark Breland said before he turned pro, he would retire from boxing before he became 30 years old. He was not going to be one of those boxers that hung around too long. So he wins the championship. His first defense is against a guy named Marlon Starling. Marlon Starling is one of those, he's a pressure fighter and a brawler. Mark Breland is 6'3". He's got a 78-inch reach, so he's a very long welterweight. If I had to describe him, I would say he's Thomas Hitman Hearns without the punching power or the chin. So they get into that war. And if you want to see that war, you can go to YouTube and watch Breland versus Starlin. And they go back and forth, banging each other, power shots throughout the fight. Marlon Starlin stops Mark Breland in the 11th round. He just wore him down, broke him down with a body shot, and then hit him with an overhand right and punished him with a barrage, and the fight was stopped. Mark Breland loses that fight, but that became the blueprint to how to attack Mark Breland. Because Mark Breland, if you look at his fight history, he doesn't go deep. He's not known for going deep. Guys would take him deep. This is back when they went 15 rounds. So he goes back, wins the next 4 fights, wins the vacant WBC title, and then he ends up rematching Marlon Starlin again. It's another war, a brutal war. Both guys are out on their feet at different times in the fight. It ends in a majority draw. Breland goes on a 10-fight win. He ends up facing a guy named Aaron Davis. If you want to see a brutal fight, I'm talking about a fight where both guys were actually out on their feet at different times in the fight. The referee brought in the doctor 3 different times to check Aaron Davis's eyes out. They were going to stop the fight, but they said he was okay to continue. Aaron Davis ends up knocking out Mark Breland in the 9th round. He came and knocked him out with one eye in the 9th round. Mark Breland went on to lose the next fight. Then he went on a 5-game win streak. And out of nowhere, when you thought he was setting himself up for his next title contention, Mark Breland walked away from boxing. He said he wasn't going to be one of those guys that was beat up and worn down from the fight game. He said he wanted to stay connected to the fight game, so he became a trainer.
Yep.
You know anything about former WBA, WBC heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder?
Yep, he used to. Yep.
Mark Breland was his trainer until he lost. I believe it was the 2nd fight.
It was the 2nd fight of Tyson Fury.
He lost because Deontay Wilder disagreed with what Mark Breland did. But what I think Mark Breland did, from a fan, if you're watching that fight, he saved Deontay Wilder because he was getting pummeled. I thought he saved Deontay Wilder because he was getting pummeled. Deontay Wilder was upset, and he ended up firing Mark Breland. Mark Breland isn't known for his pro career. He is known for the greatness of his amateur career and what he did in the Olympics. So Mark Breland, to me, not known for his pro career, but one of the greatest amateur boxers in the history of fighting.
Got you. Good job. Good breakdown, Mo. Good breakdown right there. So overall, guys, it was a very good morning show. Very productive morning show as always, man. Shout out to everybody that participated and all your comments in the chat. And shout out to Chris for putting together a good show on Saturday, yesterday, Monday, Sunday. I mean, first ever Prove Me Wrong show. Had fun up on that show.
That's a great show.
It was a great show right there. I used to watch that show too. The show, I like that. Good job on that, Chris. It was an honor for me and Mo to be the main two up, make it to the final two. But other than that, Chris, tell the people they can follow you at.
Hey, the morning show is where it's at. Check us out Sunday nights on Prove Me Wrong. And if you are not busy later on today, come back to the network. We got the Big 3 happening today, and we have Line in the Sand happening tonight.
Got you.
We don't. I read that wrong. I'm sorry. We have Sheep Seats happening today.
All right. JG, go ahead. People used to the name already, man. JG, people used to the name already.
Hey, I don't mind it at all. I don't mind it. Gives me a little bit of a little difference with everything. I don't mind it at all. Hey, you can find me guys on here on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays with you guys. I've been enjoying this, been loving doing this with you guys and talking sports. It's been a lot of fun. You can also check me out on at my organization, my baseball softball organization on Facebook and Twitter at Alpha Performance Baseball, Alpha Performance Softball. Check out all the great things that we're doing with the kids. We're in the middle of our break right now, but we start our fall practices here soon. Getting ready for our fall season here, ramping up in a month. So check out a lot of the good things that we're doing on Facebook and also on Twitter at @B_and_alpha. Again, see all the great things and great work that we're doing with the kids in the community.
Good stuff, JG.
All right. Go ahead. Bo.
Find me right here with you, Coach, Monday through Fridays in Coffee and Sports in the Morning. Check me out tonight with Gene and the crew on the cheap seats at 6:30. And if I'm fortunate enough to be able to come back and be another contestant on the great Prove Me Wrong with Chris on Sunday nights, I will be there.
Yep. You should be able to defend your title, Bo. You should be able to defend your title right there. Man. Other than that, man, hey, we can't end it without a little shot, you know. JG, go ahead, man. Tell us about them LSU Tigers, man. You cannot lead them on the show without rubbing it in. Go ahead, JG. You tell them about them Tigers, man.
Like I said, man, it's LSU's world. Everybody else just Tigers.
There we go. Right now. Like, look at Chris. He's shaking his head. There we go. We got to get a little rub. We got to rub it.
Just wait. Football season around the corner. LSU's gearing back. Oh my goodness. I'm feeling good about this year. I'm feeling good about it. Maybe another national title coming down the bayou.
Yeah, you got. Yeah, there we go. You gotta rub it in, JG. Gotta rub it in. It ain't that good if you don't rub it in, man. You gotta rub. But yeah, I will rub Count Whitmore in on Mo, but we can't. As for your
Rob, come on.
As for your boy Coach Dante, your boy Chris, your boy JG, and my boy Mo, my main man Mo Better, man. We'll see y'all in the next night.